Hello, guys. Welcome to the event. The actual event is starting in about 10 minutes. Whilst we're waiting, let's go over and look at some of your comments and chats. Let me know in the comments if you guys can hear me. Jake says hello. Russ7 says hello. Jake says hello, hi. All right, awesome, guys. Now, the event starts in about 9 minutes, the official announcement. So, whilst we're waiting for the announcement to start, let's quickly go through what we know. So, we know so far that a lot of these specs have already been leaked. So, we can take a look and see. Hey, guys, let me know if you can hear me properly through in the chats. So, if you can hear me, just leave me a comment in the chat. Let me know my audio is okay. So let's take a look quickly and see what we have. So we know so far that this camera is going to give us 4K 120 frames per second internally recording. And then we also know that it's 10-bit 422 color. But then we also know if you put this on an Atomos recorder, it's going to output 16-bit ProRes RAW, and it has a full HDMI port for that. All right, awesome. Can see the audio is coming in. Let me see in the comments here. Coming through loud and clear. Thank you, guys. So far, that's what we know. We know that there's a couple of new codecs coming in. We have the XAVC X 4K. We know we have the XAVC X-I 4K, and then the XAVC S-Y HD. Those are the three new codecs, and these can give us up to 500 megabits per second data rate. We also know that the new menu system has also been redesigned completely. This camera is also coming with a fully articulating touchscreen as well. And Jack is asking if it's the Atomos Ninja. Yes, when you take the HDMI out to the Atomos Ninja, this camera is going to offer you 16-bit ProRes RAW straight into the Atomos if you're recording. The good thing is that, and we're waiting for confirmation on all of this, even though we all know it's been leaked. But the good thing is that whilst you're recording to the Atomos, it is rumored that you can also record to the 2 card slots simultaneously as well. So basically, you can have 3 recording sessions going on, 2 internally, as well as to your Atomos when you connect an Atomos, right? And finally, a touch screen. Perfect. That's what we know we've all been waiting for. We've all been waiting for a fully touch-capable screen. So unlike the A7 III, where we only have the touch for focus, in this case, now you have a fully touch-capable touch screen when you are swiping through the previews and you're watching the videos, or even when you are also going through the menus, you can now touch instead of having to use the joysticks to move, right? So we are good to there. I'm so excited for this announcement, guys. It's going to be exciting. So 5 more minutes and we're going to go straight over to the Sony to listen in and see what the official confirmation of these features is going to be. A few more of the stuff that we already know. We know that this is going to be an excellent performance in low light. We know that the screen is fully articulating with a touch menu. We also know that now the color science has been improved. So now the colors coming out of the A7S III is going to look more like the colors from the FX9. So if you have an FX9, this can work perfectly with that, and you will not have any challenges trying to color match the FX9 to the A7S III because they all have the same color size, which is great. There's also been 10 new creative looks. If you use creative looks, then you have 10 new creative looks that you can bring in and use. And apparently there is absolutely no record time. So this is something that I'm waiting for confirmation on. But it seems as if there's no record time. But then there is also this thing that says, I've seen going around that says that after an hour of recording in 4K 60, there might be a recording time. So I'm waiting for confirmation. When we go to the live announcement, we will know for sure whether there is a recording limit or not. I've heard people say there's a 1 hour recording limit. I've heard people say there's no recording limit. So we'll wait for confirmation from Sony on that in a few minutes when the live stream starts. And then we know that there's 15 stops of dynamic range. Out of this, for the autofocus, we have 759 phase detect and 425 contrast detect autofocus points. That gives you 90% of the screen coverage. So you don't have to focus and recompose all the time. And then now you have the real-time IAF in video whilst you're recording. 5.5 stops of dynamic of IBIS. But then you also have image stabilization active mode when you're shooting video, which gives you more stability. But when you do that, apparently there is a 10% crop. So let's wait and see how all of these works out. But I still believe that if you're getting 10% of a crop, that's still not too bad. If you're still staying in 4K. So the announcement is going to go live in about 3 minutes. So let's hang in tight there, guys. Leave your comments in the chats. Let's have a discussion on this before the show finally officially starts. Let me know if you're excited about this. Let me know your thoughts. If there's something you're looking for, or are you waiting for the A7 IV? Like other people have already mentioned to me that they are waiting for the A7 IV. Are you waiting for the A7 IV, or is the A7S III what you're waiting for? Exciting times. And guys, if you're in here and you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please consider subscribing to this channel. Consider also giving this video a thumbs up. Right? Consider giving this video a thumbs up, guys, as we get ready for the official launch. Okay, so I see a few comments coming in. No overheating, I hope, with this unlimited video shooting. So far, from what I have heard, there's no overheating. I've seen a few couple of tests that will run over an hour on 4K 60, and there was no overheating. So let's just hope that still remains the same, even when shooting 120 frames in 4K. That is still yet to be confirmed. I will hold on till we get the real world reviews and see what is actually happening. But so far, from what I have heard, this is better performance than the EOS R5 with no overheating to be reported. So that's great news. Jack says, I wonder how camera cage rigs will work with the fold out screen. I don't think the fold out screen is an issue with the cages because the small rig and other companies have already been making cages for cameras like the EOS R, which has flip out screens and stuff. So I don't think that will be an issue. I think that will be fine. Okay, 5 seconds to go. So let me just quickly get in here and give you the full screen view of that screen. So hang on tight, guys, for a second. As the live screen begins. All right, still waiting for Sony to start this stream. So it looks like, guys, let's give it a few minutes. Looks like Sony has they've just increased the countdown timer after it ended. So another 13 minutes more. I think we can hang in there. Give them another 13 minutes. So guys, what would it take for you to get this camera? Is this camera something you are waiting to get, or or you're not into the hype yet and you just want to hold on? How many of you in this chat are right now are looking at pre-ordering this today? If you're looking at pre-ordering this today, just give a thumbs up in there. Just want to take a quick census and see how many of us are really looking to pre-order this. Personally, I do hybrid shooting and I shoot both photos and video. And so I probably would rather wait for the A7 IV. But let me know your thoughts. If you're a video shooter in here right now, is the A7S III what you're waiting for? Or like me, would we be waiting for the A7 IV? So there's never been a better time to shoot Sony like this, right? um, so with all these third-party manufacturers making lenses for the Sony E-mount system, it's been one of those things, right? But one of the best times to shoot a Sony camera is now, because now you can easily get so many lenses. You're not stuck with the G Masters that are so ridiculously expensive. You have options like something like the Tamron Trinity lenses, as I call them. You have the 17 to 28. You have the 28 to 75. You also have the 70 to 180, all coming in at lower prices. You also have Sigma producing E-mount lenses. And so it has made Sony to be very appealing. And it's not like before where you had to spend on the native Sony lenses. Now, if you want to, you can easily go with all these third-party manufacturers and save a lot of money while still maintaining some level of great performance. So it's a encouraging time to be shooting Sony, and I'm hoping that the A7R4 launch is going to add more to this, and we're going to see more people jump on board. Let's see here. So Alvin Manfo says, I'm personally sticking with my A7 III for now. Awesome. I have an A7S3, A7 III too as well, and I'm still using that. It works perfect. And Jack says, no way, too much pounds. I don't think so. I'm estimating that it says this is going to be around 3,500, which is pretty much competitive with the EOS R5 and the other cameras. And I see here Jake says, sticking with my A7R2. Yes. I believe that the A7R2 is still good enough to be used for portraits and stuff like that, and even for video. The autofocus in video may not be as good as the A7 III or the upcoming new cameras, but I still believe that you can still get good work out of it, especially for the video, because most of the time pro video shooters are manually focusing anyway, so it does not matter as much. So if you're getting a new gear or you're still staying with your old gear, sometimes we get so hyped up whenever a new release comes up that we are so interested in getting that new camera so far that we don't realize that what we have in our hands is still perfectly capable, right? All right, let's give it a few minutes. Waiting for that event to start. So just to go over what we know already so far, for those that have just joined us, we're waiting for the Sony official announcement of the A7S III to start. And so far, this is what we know about this camera. We know the camera is going to give us 4K 120 frames per second internally. We know the color bit has been upgraded from the old 8-bit color 420 that we had. Now we're going to be getting 10-bit 422. We know that if you connect an Atomos recorder to this camera, you're going to output 16-bit ProRes RAW, and it has a full HDMI port for that. Trust me, I've been so tired of using these mini, tiny, what do you call it, micro SDI ports for so long that this new full HDMI, it's a welcome addition. And the one that I'm most excited about is the fact that the menu system has been improved as well. Right, so I'm going to try not to interrupt so much whilst the live stream is going on, and then at the end of it we can come back and discuss and share our thoughts about the specs and the performance of this camera. I'm going to be quiet for a few minutes, guys, just to make sure that you guys can hear the official announcements and official confirmations, and then we can take over from there. Okay. Here we go, guys.
Now the long wait is over. Today, we are proud to introduce a new full-frame mirrorless camera, the Alpha 7S Mark III, which will completely change the way creators can see the world. A new dimension of visual experience starts from here. The Alpha 7S Mark III is a complete redesign of the whole S-series system. Everything is new, including the image sensor and processor. Our goal is to meet and exceed expectations of the creators who've been waiting so long for this camera. Since its sensational debut back in 2014, sensitivity has been the root of the Alpha 7S series. Carrying on this legacy, the new Alpha 7S Mark III opens the unknown world of visual expression thanks to a newly developed Sony Exmor R back-illuminated CMOS sensor. To assure overwhelming picture quality, the new image sensor has 12.1 megapixel resolution, securing a large pixel size. Now, evolved with a back-illuminated structure, it produces the best ever 4K quality combined with high sensitivity. Pixel size matters because a large pixel is indispensable for shooting high-quality movies. The larger the pixel, the more incoming light with less noise, resulting in higher picture quality for all kinds of shooting occasions. On top of the legendary S-series standing for sensitivity, the 7S Mark III has been enhanced with speed as well. The new image sensor boasts twice the data readout speed and a new focal plane phase detection autofocus system. The back illuminated structure benefits not only in increased sensitivity, but also the data readout speed performance. In addition, a large amount of autofocus data can be transferred in real time. These improvements will greatly expand shooting capabilities and expression. To realize supreme imaging experience and versatile operation, a new image processing engine has been created, the Beyond's XR. This consists of two different processors combined and enhances up to 8 times higher processing performance compared to the conventional system. The innovative new engine is born with a new architecture, having capacity aiming for future imaging experience. By combining the performance of the new image sensor and the new image processor, an enormous amount of data processing in real time can now be realized. This initiates a whole new dimension of visual expression. What is a new dimension of visual expression? The new Alpha 7S Mark III boasts the best ever supreme 4K movie quality in Alpha history. The Alpha 7S Mark III utilizes the rich data of full pixel readout without pixel binning or line skipping in every 4K recording format for every recording frame rate. The astonishing sensitivity performance allows creators to have more flexibility than ever to control exposure while maintaining beautiful picture quality. This is true for all lighting conditions. Performance in low-light situations have been improved on average 1 stop or more in mid to high ISO range when shooting S-Log3. The dynamic range is a wide 15 plus stops for movies, allowing you to capture from shadow to highlight in various shooting scenes and conditions, and offering excellent flexibility during the post-production process. A new addition is the 10-bit depth, which has 4 times richer gradation compared to 8-bit, and 4:2:2 color sampling is available in every recording format and frame rate, either in 4K or Full HD. The Alpha 7S Mark III offers all intra-frame internal recording with the new XAVC-SI format for both 4K and Full HD, up to maximum 1200 megabits per second when shooting 4K 5 times slow motion in slow and quick mode. Think of the benefits of combining all of these capabilities together. These features are all applied to the highest frame rate of 120p. Internal recording up to 120p in 4K and 240p in Full HD is realized. And the onboard slow and quick mode provides high quality but convenient in-camera processed slow motion recording and instant playback up to 5 times in 4K and 10 times in Full HD. All the latest Sony's autofocus technology, cultivated with Alpha, has been transplanted and evolved in Alpha 7S Mark III. Autofocus in movies is available in every recording format and frame rate, including 120p, where precise autofocus is required. You will experience the new shooting style, operation, workflow, and visual expression, overturning the common sense of manual focus control, opening the age of autofocus in movie shooting. The camera includes Sony's industry-leading AI-based real-time IAF, which has been refined to perform 30% better. Real-time tracking is also possible with the touch of a finger. Autofocus performance of Alpha 7S Mark III is not realized by the body itself. Lenses must equally respond as well. With over 50 native E-mount lenses, the Sony Alpha lens lineup is ready for the overwhelming movie autofocus and image performance when combined with the new camera. With all these advanced features combined together, the Alpha 7S Mark III will surely keep you inspired to create images like no other. This footage has been shot at 120p and edited to 5 times slow motion. Note how every single frame is in focus, even with such a shallow depth of field, even at an amazing sensitivity. When shooting 120p, your shutter speed needs to be higher, meaning sensitivity becomes even more essential for high frame rate shooting. Again, the large pixel does matter. For professional works, post-production workflow is critical. The Alpha 7S Mark III offers a variety of features to support this. The Alpha 7S Mark III includes S-Log2 and S-Log3 gamma curves, and the S-Log3 achieves up to 15+ stop dynamic range with 10-bit depth expandable to ISO 160. S-Log3 matching with professional camcorders in colors and tones has been improved for multiple camera operating scenes with Sony Cinema Camera Venice or professional camcorder FX9, for instance. The Alpha 7S Mark III also allows unprocessed 16-bit RAW output to an external device over HDMI, with frame rate selectable up to 60p. A full-sized HDMI Type A terminal provides a more secure connection with simple compatibility with other HDMI devices. The Alpha 7S Mark III adds XAVC HS format recording using HEVC or H.265 codec, which has approximately doubled compression efficiency. It has an option for the convenient and instant workflow onboard hybrid log gamma, where you will experience finer gradation and smooth highlight roll-off thanks to the 10-bit color depth. In addition, Creative Look. The camera features 10 types of in-camera presets, available for both stills and movies. This is helpful for quick delivery and saving you time without post-production. The whole system is redesigned for professional visual expression and operation. The Alpha 7S Mark III includes optical 5-axis image stabilization, which has been greatly enhanced with the new active mode dedicated to movie shooting, keeping 4K quality. It offers you very smooth and stable gimbal-like footage, especially when Sony's native wide-angle lenses are mounted. Please see this handheld footage stabilized only by in-camera active mode when walking straight. When shooting 4K, the new image sensor and processing engine reduce rolling shutter 3 times more than the Alpha 7S Mark II. Please see the result of minimized rolling shutter effect. For high-quality expression, the Alpha 7S Mark III utilizes plenty of data, inevitably generating much heat. In order to minimize thermal limitation, effective heat dispensation measures have been newly developed, allowing for extended continuous 4K recording. For instance, the camera can shoot 4K 60p 10-bit 422 all-intra for over an hour until the battery ends. Additionally, the camera's multi-interface shoe supports digital audio interface for superb audio quality. Audio signal is digitized in the microphone and directly transferred to the camera in clean digital form without the need for external power supplies or connection cables. When the XLR K3M adapter is attached via MI shoe, this combination provides you a choice of capturing future-proofed 4-channel 24-bit recording in linear PCM audio internal of the camera. The new Alpha 7S Mark III features a vari-angle articulating monitor that rotates sideways and affords plenty of freedom for movie shooting. It can also be folded back in to protect itself when not in use. The monitor's touch operation capability also contributes to easy focus operations during movie shooting. You can also temporarily activate autofocus by the touch operation to override manual focus mode. The upgraded focus function includes customizable AF transition speed and subject shift sensitivity, which allows ideal rack focus expression even with autofocus. These settings are synchronized when using touch focus control as well. Widen your range of expression by leaving it to the camera. The camera has a completely redesigned menu system as well, which can be operated via the new touch screen. Parameters can be instantly selected by directly touching them on the display. When movie mode is selected, the menu is changed to movie dedicated configuration. Also, settings such as exposure and focus mode are stored independently for the still and movie modes. The Alpha 7S Mark III is also designed for photography with superior low-light capability. The new camera features the world's largest and highest resolution EVF, a 9.44 million dot OLED display with 0.9 times magnification. The camera delivers low noise throughout the camera's amazing sensitivity with refined color science thanks to the new Beyond's XR image processing engine. The newest autofocus technology and algorithm are applied for still image shooting as well. 759 AF points and 92% area coverage with low light AF capability as low as EV-6. And 10 frame per second continuous shooting works with AF and AE mechanically and electronically for up to 1,000 consecutive uncompressed RAWs. For stress-free rapid data recording, the Alpha 7S Mark III has dual slots, both of which supports the SDXC UHS-2 card, and the Alpha 7S Mark III also adopted the world's first CF Express Type A memory cards, developed for the next generation of cameras for high quality and speed, where enormous data writing is necessary. For example, 4K 120p all-intra recording. Thanks to its compact size, no dedicated slots are necessary, meaning each card slot can accept both SD card and CF Express Type A. The new compact CF Express Type A card offers 700 megabytes per second write, 800 megabytes per second read speed, and are available in 80 gigabytes and 160 gigabytes. Also, a new card reader for the CF Express Type A and SD card will be available. One mount promises many benefits. The new Alpha 7S Mark III is part of Sony's powerful E-mount system, which includes 57 lenses that are compatible across not only the Alpha series, but also with our professional camcorders, whether they are full frame or Super 35. There is a lot more to explain, but let us finish the presentation here. Please take a note on many other exciting enhancements and features as shown. Imagination in motion. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thanks for joining us today. I'm Christopher Robinson from alphauniverse.com and the Alpha Universe podcast. Now that we've seen the introduction of the A7S III, we'll be taking your questions with a series of live Q&As with Sony experts, as well as photographers and filmmakers who have had a chance to actually use the new camera. Before we get to our first Q&A with Chris Burkhardt and Sony's Mike Bubalo, let's have a look at some of what the creators did with the A7S III.
What is creativity to me?
I guess you could say it's my oxygen. It's how I breathe.
It's how I speak. It's how I communicate.
It's how I look at the world.
I don't think I'd be human without it.
Creativity is necessary. For me, it's therapeutic.
It's the difference between living and existing. Maybe now, more than ever, storytelling feels like it really means something.
There's a real chance for revolution, and I've used that word specifically.
As photographers, we design worlds and create these experiences for others to view through our work.
I pick up a tool, a camera, and that's my modality of creativity, but you can go out and you can express yourself any way you want. We all have a different thumbprint.
When I have a camera in my hand, it's when I feel most comfortable. When I'm out exploring, out shooting, that's when I feel most at peace.
Now the technology just keeps getting better and better and better.
The A7S changed my career. I mean, I could see in the dark, basically, and there's no other way to put it, right? A veil had been lifted.
It completely transformed what I could even imagine was possible.
It was just a huge deal back then, and it's still a big deal now, and for the S3 to come out is massive.
I think some people didn't actually think it would ever exist.
But if I know one thing about Sony, the A7S3 is going to be a complete game changer.
Come on, baby.
Woo! 120 frames per second at 4K. In the dark.
I feel like the things that your eyes are able to see with this camera, it's like you're in a completely different world.
Do you mind standing on the edge? This is mental, dude.
We're shooting at 20,000 ISO.
And it's perfectly clean.
The autofocus is by far superior.
The screen feels nice and solid.
Man, this flip screen is so nice.
Oh my God. How sick is that?
This is unreal.
Crazy.
I seriously want to go back to every place I've ever been and shoot it with this camera.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like that.
All right, so we're gonna take it from the top. Bucketa, 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 chop.
When there is no income, when there is no job, when there is no project, like, what does a camera mean? What does it do for you? It still gives you some sense of purpose.
Every once in a while, something comes around that changes the way we see the world.
It's one thing to have something that can shoot rad slow motion and low light, but to have it in a small package can help you tell more meaningful stories.
Some of the best shots of our lives right here, guys.
Isn't that the whole point of creativity, to share your stories, to make a connection? This is why I love shooting. It brings people together on both sides of the camera.
And I would say that in many ways, that's what the world needs more of. It needs more of your perspective, your vision.
And when you find other people that share that vision, that's when you find your family.
Live Q&As today, and before we get started with Chris Burkhardt and Mike Bubalo, just a couple of housekeeping notes. Please enter your questions on the alphauniverse.com page. You can hit the question box right there and submit. And if you're watching us on Facebook, go ahead and send your questions there. We'll be monitoring both. And Chris Burkhardt and Mike Bubalo, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Chris, I'd like to start with you. We just saw some of what you were doing in that video. Tell me about how you were shooting with a new camera.
Absolutely. So I went to a national park in Alaska that I've always dreamt of going to, Wrangell St. Elias. It's larger than Switzerland and Yellowstone put together. And basically, for me, I focused on really two things. I wanted to focus on the slow motion video aspect by shooting from a plane Actually, we flew over the Bagley ice field, and we were shooting 2 Piper Cubs, 2 small planes flying really fast, handheld in a small area. So that compactness was really crucial for what we were doing. And then I shot in some ice caves right at the base of Wrangell St. Elias. And if you're familiar with ice caves, it goes from being really bright and beautiful to being super dark. So those are really the 2 activities I focused on. And I really tried to push the limits of that camera. You know, I'm super familiar with the S2. And so this was kind of a real step up. I really wanted to see what it could do and really test its video capabilities.
And what did you think?
I mean, I was blown away. I mean, we spoke about this earlier, but there's something so special about when you're really in these moments where normally you'd need a tripod and you need a really patient subject, and you're like, okay, move slow. You know, I'm shooting, you know, a fifth of a second, but I was in this ice cave totally uninhibited, shooting, you know, ISO 8,000, 10,000, no quality difference, just beautiful grain-free images, allowing my subjects, my guides to move around really seamlessly. It was unreal. I mean, that was truly the significance. And a good camera, a great technology should allow you that freedom. It should afford you that ability to kind of work uninhibited and allow the creative process to just unfold. And so that was, for me, it was free, you know, and that's really why I think I lean towards that camera.
Thanks. And Mike, Chris was just talking about the dynamic range of the new camera and the high ISO capability. The previous generations of the A7S have been well known for their ISO capability. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard to dethrone the king of high ISO, but the Alpha 7S Mark II was the king of high ISO performance. It was a camera that's always been my camera of choice because of that. So like Chris said, you can shoot anywhere and feel unencumbered. Wherever you want to go, you can always shoot. And this camera takes it to another level. And it's not just about your high ISO performance, but it's about the color reproduction and the detail that happens in those high ISOs. So now, you know, we've dethroned our own people in terms of the king of high ISO. And that on top of having over 15 stops dynamic range makes this camera have possibilities that we just have, that no one's ever had in this type of camera before. And it's pretty impressive and opens up a lot of creative opportunities for a lot of people.
And what is the ISO range on the new camera?
Goes up to 409,600, which sounds crazy, which is the same maximum as it was on the Alpha 7S Mark II. But in my personal experience and some of the stuff that I've seen Chris shoot, I mean, it's usable in the 50,000, 100,000 range, and you can still create content at 400 and still be able to share it. It's really does. Like when I say it really changes the way you can create, it really does change the way you can create.
So Chris, what were you shooting at?
That's so significant what you just said, that is it's actually usable at those high ISO ranges. For me specifically, when a couple of years ago, I made a film about surfing of the Northern Lights, and we were shooting at ISO 30,000 and putting it on a big screen, you know, a huge cinema screen, and we were able to get incredible results. And that blew my mind. That was truly what made this significant. So I just wanted to add there that it's not about how high the range goes, it's about the quality at those high ranges, and you're not losing tons of dynamic range by increasing that ISO. It's incredible.
Yeah, that's a really great point. It's all about the usability, right? You can pack specs into any device, but if it's not performing for you, if you just can't use it well, those specs don't mean a whole lot.
So,
Mike, I wanted to ask you about the new processor in this camera a little bit. It's got the new Bionz XR processor, which, how does that figure into the new camera? And tell me about that design.
So even though the Alpha 7S Mark III looks almost identical to the Alpha 9 Mark II and Alpha 7R Mark IV, it's completely new from the inside out. Everything on the camera is brand new, including that Bionz XR processing engine. So it's not just a processor, it's actually multiple processors with
So unfortunately, they haven't even announced the price yet, but I'm speculating that we're looking at somewhere between 3,200 to 3,500 US.
That we can do enables us to have twice the readout speed, 3 times better rolling shutter, process all that information, and 1,200 megabits per second inside the camera enables us to do all those things in the camera. And you'll see now with the Alpha 7S Mark III that it's really going to be the foundation and the cornerstone to where we go in the future, not just for our stills cameras, but for also our video cameras, because it is such a beast in terms of how much processing power it has and what it can do.
And that processing power came into play for you, Chris, because you were saying that you were shooting, some pretty extreme video in the aerial footage and doing some slow-mo and stuff like that. Talk to me a little bit more about that shoot.
Yeah, so it's a really complicated scenario when you're in a tight space. I mean, it's all about the use case of the camera. So for me, we're in a plane, we have tiny bit of room, and we can't use something larger. We're really stuck using, I mean, the biggest bang for our buck, and that was the S3. And you're putting this camera out the window of the plane, shooting another plane flying.
Yeah, so the announcement is officially over. We're just listening to some of the Q&A sections.
Functionality. You're not overheating. You're able to have really intuitive dial controls, switching back and forth. And I think the beauty here was the real kind of question mark, the what if, was how good of quality is this slow motion, right? And I was blown away. I mean, it was incredible. It felt like we were shooting off of a gimbal, right, up in the air, shooting this other plane right below us. And that, for me, it's really about testing it in those real world scenarios. I don't want to advocate for
6,700 Canadian. No, I doubt it.
Couldn't get behind and say, I know I can.
It's probably somewhere around 4,900 Canadian. I have to wait to verify and check.
You can do, because you can literally see in the dark. I mean, that is the true game changer. And I mean, that tagline, it's real, it's raw.
Thanks,
and that's
Paul.
what the camera really truly does for you. It opens up a world of possibilities where normally tripods are like a ball and chain you'd have over your back and you'd have to drag around. You don't need that.
Right. Again, it's about that usability, that performance, and being able to really put it to good use when you're out there in the field. And like you said, tripods, we all know we're supposed to use them, and we all hate using them, and we all leave them in the car, right?
we love them, and they have their place. But man, when you can move around with the simplicity of not having it, and knowing that it's like nighttime and you can shoot slow motion because you can bump that ISO up, that's special. Like,
right, yes, Paul. So 3,500 is just the body
that we've never seen before because of this camera.
Yeah. And you were mentioning just now when you were in the plane and you were shooting in some of that kind of those demanding conditions,
5,100
that the camera did not get
Canadian,
hot on you,
maybe
overheat on you.
No, I mean, that's one real big factor, right? Is obviously it's kind of like nobody likes to talk about that. Is like, what's the run time? How hot do these things get? Obviously we're in Alaska.
Yeah, 4,700 Canadian sounds more
warm,
about
right? So
about
we
right.
really wanted to test it by running it like all as far as we could push it, and yeah, there was zero overheating issues.
Plus, it's sell my card to buy this camera.
The intuitiveness of the controls. From a video.
Hey guys, if you're in the chats and you want to join me live, you can do that.
Mike,
I'm just gonna post
a
link
to the heating and how Sony has overcome overheating issues with the A7S III.
Absolutely. So it was.
If you want to join me live, you can use that link I just posted.
For this customer, for the professional videographer, we had that customer in mind, and then we built the perfect product for them. So obviously, being able to dissipate heat and heat management was one of our number one priorities. But we didn't want to take shortcuts. We didn't want to compromise. So we have, from the inside out, this entirely new heat management system that incorporates much of the inside of the camera. And we didn't want to have to put in fans, because once you put in fans, then you lose dust and moisture resistance. You create noise, so you can't use onboard microphones. So we created this heat management system that actually works with the materials on the camera and incorporates totally inside the camera to give us over hour-long recordings in 4K 60p all eye at huge bit rates, or until the battery runs out, and even longer.
There we go.
When connected to USB.
Unlimited recording, no overheating, really, like the R5.
Overheating are pretty slim. So.
And actually, we got a question here that just got submitted, and a question for you, Chris, to talk a little bit more about the heating, a little clarification. So you were shooting for how long in the plane in those conditions?
Yeah, I mean, we were running this camera as long as humanly possible. 20-minute, 30-minute video clips. Obviously, and the key thing here is that when you're obviously in Alaska, again, it's a cold environment, but the sun is beating down in this tiny cockpit, and it gets really warm, actually, like surprisingly warm. It's like a sauna. And so, yeah, we were filming for hours on end up there, because the light's only so good for a certain period of time. So really trying to hone in on just being able to not only shoot normal footage, but slow motion, which was really our focus for that. Which I don't know if you're familiar with, but it really can tax a camera, right? That's kind of the that's kind of the beauty here, is that we were really putting that to the test. Big bank rolls, you know, with the plane shooting straight down, shooting kind of over the pilot's shoulder and whatnot, and zero issues. In fact, I was surprised and slightly concerned that the camera was going to be much larger because of the heating and cooling. I had heard, hey, this thing has incredible like cool down capabilities. It's not going to overheat on you. You know, run times are better.
That's the whole point.
Efficiency.
The R5 has a bigger body and still overheats.
Just
doesn't make no
any
sense.
other of the R4, R3 range.
Mm-hmm. And how long did you have the camera? Actually,
Chris? Here we go.
I had it for longer than probably one.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for joining the show.
Sorry, I got the.
For about 2 weeks. And
What's going on? I just want to say a quick hello.
There's
hello. So
is it good? Are you gonna buy it?
I want to go back.
Yeah. Personally, I think I'm waiting for the A7 IV.
I'm thinking
okay. Just because I shoot a lot more video as well as photos.
Yeah.
And this one only has a 12 megapixel sensor, so I'd rather wait for the A7 IV, which may be around the 24 megapixel sensor.
So I'm just dreaming ideas of how I could take this thing and shoot it.
So these guys are just doing the post game.
Yeah, this is just the post announcement kind of Q&A.
This guy is good, Chris Burkhardt.
Yeah, talk about going back to places and sort of just like
we should try to get him on our show.
Yeah. Hey, and guys, don't forget, we always have a Wednesday 7 p.m. Eastern live show with me, Paul, and a few other guys. So check us out on Wednesdays.
Yeah. Something that people won't think about.
It's funny.
Articulate. So the screen folds out, kind of like the new vlogging camera, the Z1, whatever it's called. So that allows for maximum flexibility and creativity. Obviously, like
I just love how they just went into like the no overheating. I just
if you want to have it above
throwing shades at Canon,
basically, right?
Or, you know, 4 foot like extension, right? Because you can reach this thing way up there. Being able to shoot in a confined environment or in a creative environment where you want.
So it's about 47, 49 Canadian the body.
Outside the
yeah, roughly. So you're looking at like 5,100.
Yeah,
including taxes.
Yeah.
Absolute game changer and something that a lot of the other Sony Alpha professionals requested. So
well, hopefully I'll be able to get my hands on the review unit sometime.
Yeah, and that screen, as you mentioned, is also a touch screen, so it's all touch capable or touch controllable. So you have even more versatility. It's not just about being able to get that screen out of the way and be able to see what you're doing. It's about actually being able to control the camera.
Exactly.
So, Mike, can you talk a little bit more about that touch screen and how that's working?
Ooh, that's my favorite feature.
It's an entirely point. Having that variable screen is impressive because, like he said,
Mike Bubalo
against the windshield of a car on a dashboard and be able to see what the camera's seeing and be able to do these things, and or put it on a video rig without having to and be able to see what the camera's seeing. And most importantly, sometimes when you're in those situations, you can't access the menu and change settings, but now you can customize one of the buttons on the outside of the camera on the top to access the menu, and now the entire menu is touchscreen capable, so you can be able to go through the menu.
That's what I hope makes it into the A7 IV.
That I'm sure we've.
Because with my A7 III, when you can touch to change the menus. So when
we've been working with thousands
when you're using it
and videographers over these years.
You have to go into the menu to
you have to go in the menu. Yeah. Even with the
now we have like a vertically
what I'm using now, the A6400. Even though it has the flip up, you still can touch it to change the menus.
Scroll through.
So great.
Get through everything, and you can go through all those functions very easily. It's just very intuitive. The whole thing is just very efficient. So to speak.
Yeah, I wanted to just give a little high five to the menu creation. This has always been a pain, a little bit of a struggle for me with some of the older cameras. Is the menus obviously it's amazing because there's
our new redesigned menu,
overwhelming really quickly. And this menu was so intuitive. I mean, literally, it's completely redesigned. So it takes a minute to kind of, if you're used to using the R4 or the S2, but the moment you dive in there, you're like, oh my gosh, all the things I need, like video settings, they're all right in front of me. And that was huge, especially in really like crux situations where you need to switch something fast. You're going between shooting modes. You want to shoot in flat light. You want to, this and that. It's right in front of you. And that was a surprising change, actually.
Yeah, and we're going to get a full tour of that menu system in a Q&A in just a bit here with another member from the Sony Pro support team. But Chris, I want to talk to you just a little bit more about that experience of being able to use that menu that way and how that was kind of freeing for you. I find that menus, they can be complicated. A lot of it is just kind of getting used to it. But this menu is more intuitive and has just been laid out in a totally different way and really reimagined.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of funny when we dive in. This is the nerdy side of us coming out because we love this stuff, right? We love the things that save us seconds of time in those situations. That it's immense. It's really important. Right? And being able to obviously switch between shooting modes, switch between frame rates, and just be able to obviously dial in a custom menu setting. As Mike mentioned, that was really easy. As were before, custom menus are kind of challenging, but having everything you want right there was great. I found, at least for me, the key thing is also that ability to put the camera like in the front of a windshield and use the touch screen when the screen is facing you. I mean, before it was like take the camera and basically flip it around and try to dial it in and then push record and set it up, hoping you're getting the shot. This is a game changer. I mean, you can have the camera pointing directly down, pointing directly up from the ground and dial in your menu settings right there. That's an incredible feature that I think shouldn't be understated as much and as important as the technology is of the low light, the new sensors.
Kieran, I gotta run.
Are really incredible.
All right, buddy. Thanks for joining.
Mostly just saving time and energy. And again, for me, I'm not just a tech savvy dude here. I'm all about experience. And when a camera can heighten that creative experience, it's freeing. It takes the shackles off and allows you to focus on what do I want to create? What do I want to do? I want to get this POV shot of me and the pilot or an ice cave image where I'm like, bringing the camera right along the wall of the ice cave. That's really special.
And talking about the ice cave, tell us a little bit more about that shoot. I'm really intrigued by that. I've never been up there to that part of Alaska.
I mean, ice caves are a really special phenomenon, right? And you're really lucky enough to be able to go into that kind of early summer because they usually shut down. But this scenario was so unique, right? Being able to be in a situation where you had an ice cave that was really dark, right? The deeper you go, the darker it gets, right? And so you're almost thinking every 10 feet I step back, I've got to bump it up another like 200, 300 ISO. And we were in the very back of the cave, probably like 300, 400 feet back, right? There's a waterfall in the middle. I've got my guides moving around. They're going across this like kind of technical little traverse. And that was so unique because I didn't have to tell anybody, hey, slow down. Hey, do that. Like, just pause right there. I could just let people move around freely. And in the past, not shooting in ice caves or shooting in low light situations, you're shooting at like a second or a fifth of a second, depending on the amount of light in there. I mean, these are notoriously dark, right? But also notoriously beautiful. And what you find, to my point, the dynamic range, right? Let's dive into that. What does that mean? It basically means the ability to kind of bring back that detail in the shadows and the highlights. Talk about a harsh situation. On ice cave, you have sun coming in usually from one end, and the rest of it's dark or it's a saturated blue. So being able to bring back that detail, but also be able to have that contrast to play a part in the image was key. I mean, this is a really special thing, right? Being able to kind of bring back some of that sun detail, some of that light hitting the water, but also have the colors. We're trying to kind of reimagine and or recreate what we saw with our eye. And nothing will ever be as good as that. But in this situation, I mean, I had more visible light than I could see with my own eye. It was really special.
And Chris, you really did use the camera in this kind of hybrid way where you were shooting the stills, a lot of video, a lot of stills, doing that. That's kind of how you just kind of go through life, yeah?
Yeah, and I mean, I think the key thing here is that I'm always looking for a camera that can do both and do both well. And I think that in some ways, you always like, oh man, I'm using a great camera, but I'm compromising the high ISO capabilities. It's not the camera for nighttime. Like I really wanted to test this from a still perspective first and foremost, like to have the quality that I can print images and I just printed my first image with the camera to test it to see because that's a huge part of my business. I don't want to recommend a camera to somebody that that I'm going to say, well, the R4 is way better. No, this thing holds its weight. I mean, it is incredible, and I would say in many ways the ability to have incredible video and put it in that mode and then shoot in extremely low light. For me, most of what I'm shooting is in harsh conditions. It's in dark, it's in storms, it's in places where I don't want to be inhibited by the quality of the camera, and that was truly kind of a situation here. And as I mentioned before, sorry, I know I'm blabbing, but the S2, it changed my career. I mean, it changed my life. Truly, that camera allowed me to create images. I won an X-Games gold medal with that photograph that I shot at ISO 30,000. I mean, it was only because of that technology and hopefully a little creativity on my end that allowed me to do that. So this camera, I'm blown away. I'm like trying to reimagine what I can do. It's getting all the creative juices turning.
You know, talking about kind of that hybrid way of shooting, this camera has a brand new sensor. Mike, can you speak to a little bit more detail about the new sensor in the camera?
Absolutely, yeah. So there's about that sensor. So it is brand new sensor from the ground up. It's back illuminated, meaning that believe it or not, a lot of the sensors that are out there in the world right now, the electronics and the wiring are on top of the photosensitive material. They're in between those pixels. And we just move them underneath. So now not only do we have 12 megapixels, which gives us huge pixels, but we have even larger photo sites because those electronics are no longer in front, they're on the back. So the nerdy stuff aside, it gives us the ability to get the super high ISO performance, or 15 South dynamic range. But on top of that, we wanted this sensor again. It's purpose built for the best 4K image quality. It's purpose built to give you the best possible 4K you can possibly get because we have full pixel readout in every single mode, from 30p, 24p, all the way up to 120p. There's no line skipping, pixel binning. It's full pixel readout all the time, and there's no compromise. So there's no asterisk, so to speak, when you're talking about the 4K image quality on this camera. I don't know if I'm overstepping and getting into it early, but the autofocus of the sensor, the Phasitech autofocus system in this camera, really separates itself from the Alpha 7S Mark II and brings us into a realm now of the autofocusing speed of the Alpha 9 Mark II or the Alpha 7R Mark IV. And like Chris, or you said, like in X-Games, you can not only shoot at 50,000, 100,000 ISO, but you're going to be able to have the subject tracking, the low light focusing, like no cameras.
Well, and it's not so much even that it's lightning fast. It's super fast, but it's smooth. And that's the thing is it's a usable autofocus. That's the difference, right? I've seen cameras where it's like jumps and back and forth. And, I mean, the subject detection on it is incredible. Like the contrast that it can isolate is amazing. I mean, I was really blown away with that because traditionally we're always kind of like, I'm going to shoot manual focus. I'm gonna be safe here and just do it myself. But being able to rely on that autofocus was really amazing, especially in a situation where, again, you're already shooting in almost dark conditions. The camera's seeing more than your own eye, and it's like.
And it goes to what you were saying before, where the hardware, it's no longer having to manipulate the hardware to get the shot that you want. You can actually let the hardware do its job, and then you can be more creative and more free to do what you want. Like you said, that free feeling is only capable because the hardware does its job, and you don't have to worry about it.
And this is why that relationship I think within the Sony team is so great. To be honest and just to be fully transparent, like being able to give feedback to like the designers and the engineers and see it come to life. I've never worked with any company that's done that, and that's really special because you're seeing instant feedback like actually being applied, and what, like you said, Mike, it really it frees you as a creative and allows you to kind of go out and be like, okay, now I can focus on my vision and not trying to understand this menu and trying to use hacks to kind of like, oh, I got to use this recorder or this thing to like get the most out of it. That's a really unique thing.
And Chris, we had a question on Facebook, but not on Facebook. We got a question submitted out Universe for you, asking about how you use autofocus and whether you use it for both stills and video.
That's a great question. So typically for me, I'm a single shot autofocus guy when it comes to stills. The reason being, I mean, I love the continuous. I like all those things, but I'm usually like thinking of where my shot is, my subject is going to be, pre-focusing, and then I'm just firing through that sequence or that experience, right? Mainly because I think that a lot of times if you're continuous, you're shooting like a race car track, cars keep towards you, or a wild animal. For me, I'm usually in kind of a slightly, I guess you could say, scenario where I kind of know what's going to happen. I'm kind of premeditating this costume. So I really like that single shot. And then when it comes to video, oftentimes it depends on the shot, right? If it's a static shot, someone's moving through the scene, I'm just pre-focusing. I'm working on an edit right now from my trip, but we're kind of racking focus along this ice cave wall, and we're letting it happen with the autofocus, like picking our spot and moving. I mean, we're talking really shallow depth of field, beautiful ice patterns, kind of like coming forth in front of your eyes as you move back and forth. And I was really cool because in the past you have to like, you know.
All right, guys. So I think I'm gonna end the stream here.
That was really unique. So,
And then we can spend a few minutes to discuss and see.
Both of them, depending on the situation and the time. But the point is that knowing that you can use both is crucial, right? Knowing that you can work.
All right, guys. So what's your thoughts about everything that we've talked about and we've seen today? I know that this has been an exciting time. We've all been excited to see this happen. So now that we've seen and out of rumors have been confirmed, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, what you plan to do. Are you looking to get this camera, or like me, you're waiting for the A7 IV? Let me know in the comments. And thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me this morning. If you are not yet subscribed to my channel, consider subscribing and hit that thumbs up button on this video. Hopefully, in the near future, I'll be able to get my hands on a demo unit of the A7S3 and be able to give you guys a full, better, in-depth, hands-on review of the unit. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. Stay blessed, and as usual, keep creating, and then let your gear limit you. Awesome.